Hey, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to a new series I'm starting. This is a wizard only free to play Dark and Darker playthrough. I'm going to complete as many quests as I can before the upcoming wipe. I hope that everything goes well. I'm relatively newer to this game, so I thought I would give myself a more of a reason to play it. We got the Duke of Ted. I just made them. So let's get right into it. All the things to check out for those of you who have yet to play this game. You always start with a certain amount of gear, which you can change here at the Squire. So this is your base gear, and you'll get different for every class what you start out with. But for the wizard, these are all the basic gears for it. Now you can easily right click, get rid of everything, and then if you hit set base gear, well, I suddenly have nothing. And if you hit equip, now over here I have nothing. So our first step is going to be determining what are we going to start with. Now the meta in the early game for the wizard is to go with staff mastery. So staff mastery in simple terms allows your staff, which magic staff is what you'd be using. You could use a ceremonial staff, but I've yet to see anybody really use that on wizard to any great effect. But you give it, you see, you have the magical damage and the weapon damage, but you give it something called magical weapon damage, which allows it to scale with your abilities like will, right? Or whenever you enhance it, and the more magic power that you have, you'll do greater damage when using the staff. Now, I'm not a big fan of it, just because I like to explore other options. So we have so many perks to use here, so why not go through and use them? Now, in my opinion, I like to cast spells. I like to cast spells and I like to clear out mobs quickly. So there's one way that I can do that pretty simply, and that's we're going to go with Sage. So, Sage, as you can see, spell casting speed, memory capacity, and knowledge have all gone up, right? So knowledge affects your memory capacity, spell casting, and how much recovery you get whenever you rest. We're going to go with the knowledge bonus because we want to cast spells quickly. When we sit down at a campfire, we don't want it to take forever to get our spells back. And also, we really just want to be able to, you know, eventually have all the spells that we want. And this is a good perk to always have with you. Ordinarily, I would go with the quick chant because it boosts your casting speed way up. You know, you don't need anything super early on. You know, if we have 19, each tier represents the cost, correct? So with spell casting, you'd be able to still afford everything. You know, because I mean, let's go with all the most expensive spells, right? Only then, I mean, we can't even afford anything with the knowledge, right? But expensive spells are not what makes you win this game. So first, we're gonna go with this, and then let's look at the skills that we're gonna use. First off, spell memory is something that we absolutely need. Without this, we can't cast any spells. Meditation. Um, this allows you to sit down and recover your spells more quickly than if you were to set down a campfire. It skips the whole setting a campfire down, meditating, get all your spells back, and then allows you to move on. This is a very high contender for what we might use. Intense focus. Intense focus is really good as well. Let's say that I was casting a spell like Fireball. This is the most common instance that you'll see it used, is you will use intense focus, so then you can suddenly throw out a fireball almost instantly and catch a lot of people off guard, which really helps. But early on, you're as a wizard, you're not really doing that much damage with your spells, I've found. So it's really better to focus on either having more spells up more consistently to help you fight through the mobs, or to have a shield. Now the shield, it scales okay, and it helps deal with uh, a lot of the damage you'll be taking early on from mistakes. I am by no means a really good player, so this is probably what we'll go with, is the Arcane Shield. I just like it more, and whenever I'm fighting any mobs that I'm unfamiliar with or that I have trouble with, which you'll see plenty of, it'll allow me to take the brunt of the damage and then also deal damage back, almost like a Thorns effect, if you will. But it only happens once in a small little explosion. Now for spells. So this, you can see, so you have spell memory required for this, and it's all marked out in red, but this one isn't. That's because we have spell memory, right? So if we wanted to, we could have both of these, and suddenly both are open to us for use. Which, there's plenty of builds that allow you to do that. Now, the spells that we're going to be using, we're going to start with Zap. This is a really good, quick cast spell that does plenty of damage when you hit it. The burn, not super important on it. Doesn't really do much. It's like a 1 damage burn onto it. However, if you pair it with other things, other perks and skills you have, like Fire Mastery, it reduces any healing that people might come up with, which I've found to be useful against clerics and druids. It really cuts down, mostly in the 2v2 or 3v3 meta. You could find quite good use with this. Don't let people tell you that things aren't good just because they don't like to change or try things. Right? They find one thing and they tend to stick to it. So don't do that. Next is Ice Bolt. Ice Bolt is my favorite spell on the wizard list. It is essential to have because people move so quickly in this game. And I don't prioritize movement speed. I prioritize, um, well, I would suppose if I'm not prioritizing movement speed, I'm probably dying. But I don't have 1,000 gold on my main account to spend, uh, trying to get 3 extra movement speed on some boots. So then I can run away from somebody in full plate mail. But this, if I hit the enemy with it, they'll get slowed. I have more space. I'm able to get out stronger spells. It allows me a good chase down. It has decent range. Overall, just a beautiful spell. It also slows their swinging, or if they're trying to open a door or something like that. If you hit them before they're able to get to that door, then it takes longer for them to actually open it. Next, Ignite. Ignite helps clear out mobs very quickly. Whereas, for instance, you might see us fight some goblins. So, if we fight goblins with a staff, it could take 4 swings without Ignite active. Whereas with an active, it would take 3. And over the course of fighting a lot of mobs, you're saving a lot of time as you do it. So, it's just a little enchantment to your attacks. So now we're looking for the big spells, things that are really going to help us deal with things we wouldn't normally deal with. So these two are going, all of these so far have been focused on, these two are focused for PvP. You'll never see me use them in PvE unless I am having a really bad time. This is almost strictly PvE, and then on the very rare occasion will we use it PvP. Now we're going to get some spells strictly for PvP. You'll see, as though, although I'm unable to use most of my spells for PvE like I would like to, I have to save them all for PvP because you see these little numbers. This is the amount of times that you can use them before you're able to, you have to sit down and gather your spells again. So we're going to go with something pretty simple here, and that is, we're going to start with Fireball. I don't know what that little knocking was. What's this? An invite list. I've been invited by somebody random. That's quite odd. I've never seen that before. Well, back to what we were doing. So, Fireball. Fireball, beautiful spell, just got a buff to the splash damage, which allows you to do more if you're not quite accurate. You can throw it at the ground and for a corner, catch people off guard, hit them. It kind of throws people back. Very beautiful spell. It also allows you to break doors with this. One of the few things in the game that can break doors. Invisibility. Now, in my head, it's a tie between Magic Missile and Invisibility. But I think I'm going to go with Invisibility for the fact that I need to get away in these early stages. You'll probably see me either drop this or move over to something like Haste or Slow in the future as I grow more confident with the kits that I'm using. Invisibility, though, early on, the movement speed is amazing, and just being able to move around while people can't see you, but your after image allows you to make some outstanding plays. Magic Missile, though, can easily cover this base for you. Reason being is if something gets close enough to where you need to use invisibility, you can usually just Magic Missile and kill them. You shoot 11 missiles or 10 missiles and they deal 11 damage and they scale at a 75% rate, which they come out quick. And if they're on top of you, you're hitting every one of them. Now the only bad thing is that you're very squishy. So they can hit you 2-3 times and you're dead. So if you don't have that spell going before they're already on top of you, then likely you're gonna die. Whereas invisibility, it has the added bonus of allowing you to get past mobs. Now, some honorable mentions in the spell categories, things that you could substitute out, and it would be perfectly fine. So here, instead of running Zap, you could run Light Orb. Now, Light Orb, it doesn't seem super useful, but as it says, it can force rogues out of hiding. This is also pertinent information for people who drink invisibility potions. Or if a wizard is running invisibility, it just suddenly erases it from them and they become visible whenever they encounter the effect radius of the light orb. And not to mention the dungeons are just dark in general. You have slow, beautiful, and it allows you to really make some great plays. You know, let's say if you wanted to run slow, I would get rid of invisibility. You don't need 2 super utilities because you need as much damage as you can in fights because you do no damage. Now slow, if I were to cast it on somebody like a fighter or a barbarian or somebody running directly at me, slow them, and now they have to decide, do I try to get away? Do I keep pursuing? If they keep pursuing or they try to get away, you so much faster, even whenever you're casting your spells, that you could easily get a direct fireball off or a direct headshot ice bolt. These things that just hurt. Beautiful spell. We already talked about Magic Missile. Haste. Haste is just, in my opinion, a better version of invisibility. I don't know what all the fuss about invisibility is, that it allows you to juke, and it allows you to make plays like unforeseen. People, like, you're running away, you turn invisible, and suddenly you turn around and you run past them. And while that works a lot of the time, sometimes just being fast, swinging faster, casting spells faster for a longer duration is just better. Actually, in most cases, you can use haste and stay out of trouble instead of getting yourself caught and then having to use invisibility as a scapegoat. Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike is this is a skill check spell. You cast it on the ground. You need to be aware of your surroundings at all times and understand, like, I can cast this. You can't really, it's kind of finicky from height. So if you're standing above somebody and you're trying to cast it down, it doesn't work as well. Overall, very skill check. There is a movement speed penalty if you hit them, but I have yet to find good use out of using this. It's good at blocking doorways if people want to come through, or if people are running away, it's really easy to catch them with it and deal critical amounts of damage. But I like the spell over Fireball because it forces me to be more competitive and think harder and play harder to get, the same reward for just throwing something out. Explosion is just Fireball, but delayed. That's all it is. Now, Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning is you point and you shoot out a bolt of lightning from your staff or your whatever you're going to be using, your spell book, etc. And it hits the enemy, connects to another enemy, and then another. But if you're close enough, it will connect to you too, and it can easily kill you. You don't have a lot of health, and if you're buffing your damage a bunch, you could potentially almost one-shot yourself by getting hit with this. So, I wouldn't recommend using it unless you're, in duos or trios and you're really kind of in a tough spot. You need to just fry somebody. But that's it for the spells and perks and skills. The training is essentially, it's right now completely useless. It does nothing for you. You get little rewards every 10 levels after level 20. And they're almost never related to your class in any capacity. And unless you're selling the purples that you get from it every so often on the market, which is the trade here, which you need to hit a certain level to get it. Level 20 says right here. Which you can't do in this free-to-play series that we're going to do. There's no use of really getting them. Now let's just go through, accept every quest, and then we'll talk about who we need to really focus on. Now that we have all the quests, let's talk about the traders. Each of them will trade something different for different things. Like this guy, he has all these amazing loot, right? Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And you need, skull tokens that you can find in raid. This is relatively new. I say relatively, it's within the past couple of days that it came out. And I still don't know much about this or where to find them. I'm pretty sure there's like specific chests in Raid that we have to be on the lookout for to be able to acquire these. But let's talk about the stuff I do know. So the Alchemist has services for upgrading potions and creating potions. In fact, I have actually yet to make any of these potions before. I'll have to keep my eyes out and think about it. But it's probably easier to just purchase them once we hit of level. Now, each class should be focusing different people, right? Each class gets certain things from the squire, like we said, right? You have all of this, but this is the poorest of the poor quality. This is the worst of the worst stuff you can get. The alchemist, as you level them up, you see this? It's reputation, affinity. As you level up, he'll give you more things for the squire. Same with the armorer, the fortune teller, the leathersmith, woodsman. Woodsman, kind of, not so much. The weaponsmith, tailor. Those people are who you should be focusing. Now, for everybody, it's different. For the wizard, our main focus is the alchemist, fortune teller, the tailor. Now, those are who you should normally focus. I, as well, will be focusing the weaponsmith, and you'll see why in here in a minute. First, let's set up our gear. So, things to note. If you can get knowledge, get knowledge. If you can't get knowledge early on, magic power is good, but we want to get survivability. So let's start off with the things that we really need. First, a torch. Light is always good. We want healing and bandages. These are always free, so you got to get those. A campfire kit, absolutely necessary. Remember, it's how we get our spells back. And a potion of protection. Now, when this is consumed, it gives us a physical shield. Potions heal over time, bandages heal right away. Now let's focus on what armor you should be wearing early on. So, we're not going to be wearing the frock, even though it gives more armor and more magic resistance and stuff like that, because its movement speed is -6. It only gives 1 dexterity. Instead, we'll be wearing the Adventurer's Tunic, which gives that 3 max health, which can be life or death sometimes. We're going to get the Adventurer's Tunic, and then we're not going to get Wizard Shoes, actually, contrary to, what you might think. We're going to get Adventurer Boots because of that little dexterity bonus. We have nothing that increases the stats we want early on, so what we need to do is become as effective as we possibly can with what we have. So we're going to get those two, and then the only pants that we can really get are the cloth pants, so we're going to grab those. And we're going to finish this out with the wizard hat. That 1 magical power is not great, but it's good enough to consider. Early on, movement speed isn't the biggest deal. And now we're going to get a Rondel Dagger and Crystal Ball. Now you might be wondering, why a Rondel Dagger and Crystal Ball? This is merely just preference. I've been playing this build, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So I thought, why not see if we can't get as far as possible using this until we get sick of it. Or until I want to change it up. So we're going to Rondel Dagger Crystal Ball, but if you're new to this, I would recommend that you run Spellbook and Magic Staff. Reason being, Spellbook, it has a better feel when you're casting your spells. And the Magic Staff is really easy to use and, getting out a lot of damage on the mobs with staying a healthy range away and allowing you to dodge things. And especially with that Staff Mastery perk, it really allows for some crazy output of damage with Ignite on it. And so you can easily defend yourself off against a barbarian or a fighter after you've hit them with a couple of spells. If they get too close, you can just smack them on the head, and that'll be that. But for now, this is what we're going to be running. And then we're going to grab a loot. Now, the loot is very specifically for whenever we, drop our campfire. When we drop the campfire, what we're looking to do is we will equip the loot, and then we'll sit down at the campfire. This is to maximize how many spells we're getting back. And we'll set our base gear, we'll equip it. This is how you know everything is equipped. This is your inventory. It'll all be over here. You can see we have nothing in our stash, no gold. The gear score, this matters, but this I'll tell you about in future things. Just try in your early games to keep it below 25. You want to be 1 to 24. So let's look at the quests that we have that we need to do. We need to get one potion of each kind found in raid. This one, if we run Howling Crypts, we'll go to the Dark Magic Library. Now let's look at the Tailor. The Tailor is very important. Allows us for a good amount of things if we can get them. This one is hard. It is very hard. I am not good at fighting mobs, and I'm still learning. The Demon Berserker, Demon Bat are absolutely horrific to fight. You might see a compilation of me dying to them if we really, really try for that quest. This is just kill a bard and a ranger. That'll come if it comes. And the Weaponsmith. Weaponsmith, 5 rare weapons, 2 gold ingots. Can't do that right now. In the future, we'll look to getting that done. And then the Fortune Teller. Fortune Teller, we need some bowstring, some old cloth. This is pretty easy, pretty simple. So it looks like we're going to be running Crypt. Interact with Altar of Sacrifice. I might have some people come on and play this with me, and then we'll run some raids, and if they die, then I'll be able to really get this quest done, because you can't interact with it by yourself. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.